Hi, everybody. I say we start. I want to acknowledge and say happy Pesach to those who celebrate. It's the second night of Passover. We did consider rescheduling, but with Good Friday and Holy Thursday and Easter and spring break and the end of Ramadan, and then it's the end of the school year, we decided to keep it. And this meeting is recorded, so please pass it along to anybody who was unable to attend this evening. Yay, I see we have a great group of folks. Okay, I'm going to share the screen. Those of you who were in before we started recording, I shared with you all I am on solo mom duty tonight. So I'm a little slightly scattered. Okay. Here we go. Here's the agenda for those of you who haven't gotten it yet. It's in the chat box. Do we have quorum to do the approval of March minutes? No. Okay. So then we will go to our agreements. We always sort of check in with our agreements. The agreements in the little image, that's just something I found online, but the bullet points, those are agreements that we've come up with in meetings and at the very start of the year with just the executive board, but also in like the room parent meetings and in our PTA meetings. I highlighted keep the kids at the center. We are all learners and listen actively and embrace multiple truths. I feel like those really help us come together in the spirit of collaboration for the folks that we're organizing for, which is our kids at Maya Lin. Is there anything else that you all want to uplift from our community agreements? Or maybe there's something not on the list, this list, that you would like to bring up? Nope. Okay. Awesome. For those of you who are like, why do we do this every single time, Erica? This is just a very standard restorative practice of checking in with each other to make sure we're all able to hold the same agreements for the meeting. And then our PTA vision, this is actually a bit relevant to what we're going to sort of talk about tonight. This was sort of our vision for this year. As a PTA, is to basically aspire to be a community of care rooted in restorative justice practices and committed to disrupting oppressive ways of being. It's a very lofty vision, but I feel like we've done a decent job at it. Especially when it comes to systems of oppression, we have a long way to go, but I've been like super proud of our group this year. I think we are willing to have challenging conversations. I think that there's just been so much community care. I'll say this quickly so that I don't cry. For example, Elisa Bell's family is going through a lot right now, and it's just been really amazing how our families come together. Our community has come together for her family. Yeah, so that is our PTA vision for this year. Before we really dive in, I thought it would be nice to do a collective breath. So this is a very short little video, and I just encourage you all to take a moment and root into this and breathe. Oh, what is happening? Hold on. I don't know what's going on with my computer. I don't want you guys to have to only see this weird side thing. Let's see. Let me make it big.
We can see it.
Okay. Oh, you can? This is better though, right? Okay, here we go. Let me start from the beginning. Clearly, I need to breathe. Okay. Well done, everyone. I like that this video told us that we did a good job. So today for our check-in, and I don't know if Nathan is here yet, but we've been talking about sort of rechecking in with ourselves about what our PTAY is, especially while we're starting to have budget discussions and we're beginning to welcome new board members. It's just a good time to like think about what our collective PTAY is and how that informs the decisions we make. I would also love to just way more collaboratively build a PTA vision for next year. So that's why we're having this conversation now. And Nathan has been really wonderful and instrumental in helping to shape this conversation. So our check-in today is just take a moment, and when you think about the PTA and why you come to these Zoom meetings every other week, or you come to school and volunteer, or you do committee work, like what is your why behind that? And then always, if you have questions that you're bringing to this meeting, this is a great time to ask that. So I will model what I mean. So hi everyone, my name is Erica. I use she, her pronouns. My PTAY as of today, it shifts, but my PTAY as of today is to why do I do? I'm trying to say this succinctly. Just like bringing connection across our community, I think that we are a really aligned community. And so connection is kind of my collective why, and to like find where and how the different community members are interconnected and how we can support our kids. So I guess connectivity and then support of our kids. That's my personal why. I don't have any questions I'm bringing to this meeting. And if you click on that link, it's a Jamboard. If you feel more comfortable to just type out your why in that Jamboard, that's fine. I'm going to pass the mic to Maria.
Hi, I have a little friend next to me, so you might hear him in the background. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna go play. It's like a lizard, and I'm just like terrified of snakes. So, anyways, my why. I'm doing it for the kids for sure because they are our future. But also I will be realistic in the fact that I think everyone is committed to want the best for our children, but we need to build this community and the PTA. And it's one of the questions that I have, and I've mentioned to Erica, is like how we can get the community to really join, because as you can tell right now, we don't even have enough of a quorum to vote on something if we needed to do. So those are some questions in case anyone has any answers on how we can continue to build this community. Otherwise, I think I answered all the questions. If not, I'm just gonna pass it on to Monica anyways. And thank you all for being here.
Can you hear me? Sorry, I'm wearing my kids' headphones. Super cool. My why is the same as Erica's. The community. We've been part of this community for 7 years. My daughter started Myelin in 2016, and it's just been such a wonderful, supportive community. And once the pandemic started, I didn't want to lose that, and so I did everything I could to volunteer in the garden and at the school, and especially last year when everyone came back in person, I wanted to be here. And so being supportive of the community is a big one for me, and the kids for sure. And I don't know that I have any questions. Is that it? All right, I'm going to pass it on to Emily.
Hello, I'm Emily Roberts. I teach first grade at Myelin, and I have a third grader. And I am here as a parent to find out more about how it all works and what you all do. And as a teacher, I am here to try to kind of bridge and connect what you all are doing with what the teachers are doing and try and have it be as aligned as possible. And I also wonder, Maria, how we can continue to get more and more people involved in not just meetings, but that we're making sure that like our volunteer pool and people are feeling welcome and open to bringing whatever their skills or strengths are. And I mean, I love seeing all of your faces, but I know you all carry a lot. And so how to make sure we're inclusive and welcoming and not overburdening the few.
Hi. I am I supposed to introduce myself also with this, Erica? I'm Kara Berg, I'm the principal. And I am here, well, I'm here every day because you just have wonderful kids. And I believe deeply in what this school does and how it thinks about learning and just the power of education in moving lives. But I also am here particularly at this meeting because I think that partnership is really essential, especially at the elementary level of schools. Just they are the heart of the community. And I think a lot of the way that this PTA partners with the school and approaches its work reflects our values, I think, in really wonderful ways. And so like a lot of the fun events that feel like these cultural cornerstones are supported by the PTA. And I think that's important. And if I have my inner Laura Adams in me, it's that piece where you always say like people don't realize the vital services that the PTA provides and how central it is to how our school functions. And so when we think about like how to get people involved, I wonder if there's a way to capture momentum around that.
I'll go. My name is Lana, and I have two girls at Myelin, a second grader and a kinder. And I started as a COVID kindergartner. And so this is all new to me. And I think as a reaction, I joined the PTA and I volunteered because I want to show up and I want to participate in a way that I wasn't able to during a certain amount of time. And I think a lot of the things we said about alignment and connection really resonate with me. And I think just from my experience with both grades or both girls and the other parents in those classrooms, there's a lot of rigor or interest in kind of participating in the school, but there's also some ambiguity around how to do that. And so I'm sure there's ways to kind of leverage some of that energy in a way. But I'll speak for myself and say that because of the uncertainty in both my kids beginning, it's just a lot to piece together because there's also other question marks around kind of staff changes as well. And so I really believe in the school and I really love the school and the community. And I'm really invested in kind of keeping what magic and excitement there is that I came in with. And I'm really grateful for you, Carrie. And I'm sad to see you leave.
I was just typing on the Jamboard everything everyone was saying, so I couldn't actually see your beautiful faces. You're not required to talk, but I'm gonna pass the mic to Jamie, and then Jamie, you can keep passing the mic around.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jamie. Let's see. My PTA why I have a third grader and a kindergartner. And when my daughter was in kindergarten, we got like half a year and then COVID hit. And prior to that year, I had kind of attended a few PTA meetings and sort of felt like a disconnect of like, oh, I want to help, but I'm not sure how, or like, I didn't really feel like there was an opportunity. And so once, things got somewhat back to normal, I was like, well, I want to be as involved as possible for the rest of her time at Myelin and then also for my son's time at Myelin since he's brand new. So, and I love the school and I love the community. I do feel like there's still a little bit of a disconnect of like people not necessarily knowing how to get involved or not coming to meetings. And I don't know what the answer is there, but I'm willing to help get the word out or help however I can and spread the message. So that's why I'm here. Let's see. And I will pass it to Carly.
Hello, everyone. Carly Kaufman. I'm the secretary. So if you see me looking, it's because I'm taking notes. And I have a first grader and a third grader. I think my PTA other than the obvious reasons, just to like model involvement and community for my kids, and also just to like be in the loop of what's going on. I mean, there's like a lot of good info out there and communications, but sometimes it's nice just to like know you all and be in a meeting and hear the real story of what's going on, and I always appreciate that. I'll pass it to Megan. So you got it? Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan Sharon. I have a fourth grader and a first grader, and I was the former PTA treasurer during the COVID era, and I am the current financial secretary, and my why is definitely the children. I really appreciate this community, want to make an impact and have a influence on the activities that we're able to provide to our children. And so just want to be the change that I want to see happen. So that's why I am here. And I will pass it to Lisa.
Hello, my name is Lisa Patakis, and I have a third grader at Myelin. My PTA is I know that schools do a lot better if they have lots of parent involvement. It means a lot to the kids. Although when I was at school on Tuesday for garden time, my child was not happy to see me at all. But that's just my ego took a hit. But yeah, I'm happy to have a community and appreciate everybody and all that they do.
I
Let's
can.
see. Oh, yeah, go for it, Taryn.
I'm Taryn. I have a fourth and first grader. My fourth grader joined Maya during pandemic times too in second grade. And so I wanted to share. So my why is the kids, I think, echoing a lot of what I've heard. I wanted to share a win because I was able to, with Maria recently, go to a field trip with the class, with our first grade class. And there were 13 parent volunteers for like our class, like including grandparents, I think 1 or 2 grandparents, right? So I think that speaks to like, you know, what we're hearing, right? Like the desire to be involved, especially I think post-pandemic. And this speaks a little bit to, you know, I'd gone to a similar field trip years ago before the pandemic for my son's first grade class, different school, where the ratio was much less. You know, there was not 13, you know, it was not 3 to 5 kids, you know, 3 parents to 5 kids. It was like 1 of me to 5 kids. And I was terrified that I was going to lose them all. But anyway, so I think that just speaks to like the community we have here at Maya, and then what I'm grateful for. And yeah, and as far as PTA meetings and getting more people involved, I think that's a great goal, because I know how much you all do as, you know, board members. And so I'm here to try to help to like lighten the load, but also to, I think getting information like this for me is just so much better than like reading it, even though I read it all too. You know, it's kind of more enjoyable this way. It's more memorable. I don't know, just that I think that's that like community piece, right? And so I think it's might be controversial to say the piece about the in-person, because I think maybe that's something that I don't know what people think about that. There's a reason we do it on Zoom, right? For like convenience, but I wonder about that as like a community building opportunity. I know I kind of missed that. I think there's something about, I don't know, the kids coming and like having, I don't know if we can have pizza anymore. I heard there was an issue with food, but you know, like I wonder how much that would help to like, maybe not, maybe the numbers were low before when we did it in person, I'm not sure, but that's like my thought about that goal maybe. Thank you. Good to see you all. I know I don't always get to make these, so I'm glad to be here.
We had 39 adults and 71 children on that trip.
That's funny. I think Laura and Alex haven't gone. Oh, and Marhane. Laura.
I can go. I think my why is actually has been for the teachers more than the kids. I have a lot of teachers in my life, and it's important to me to support them in the ways that I can. And I have one of my children at Mylan has needed quite a bit of teacher support, and I can't volunteer in the classroom because I work full time, and this is the way that I can give back.
Hi everyone. I'm happy to go, but I am not going to be sharing my screen because I am driving. That thing we all promise we're never going to do as parents. Here I am doing it, but it was married. That's not correct. Please let TAY for tonight specifically was that. And in general, I was crazy involved when my older child was at Mylan, and they have now matriculated out. And my kinder, I feel like deserves as much of the similar experiences I can give her now that I'm back at work.
Awesome. And then I'm going to pass it to Marhane.
I'm Marijn. I have a kindergartner in Mylan. I'm here, I guess, to stay involved and to figure out how I can help out and just, yeah, try to be helpful.
Awesome. Did Nathan materialize? No. Okay, that's okay. We'll keep on moving. Do we have enough to approve the minutes from March? Maybe we should do that before we move on. 2, 4, 6,
We just
8,
have 16.
12, 14. Does anyone have PTA people in their house that can stick their
You
head?
want me to text Nathan?
Mhm.
I'll text Nathan.
Yes, please. And if there's anyone in your household that can stick their head in the screen, that counts too. Okay, so we'll keep on moving until we get quorum, because we actually need to take a vote tonight. So hopefully we'll hit 16 soon. Maybe we need to rewrite the bylaws. So it's like 3 is a quorum. Okay.
My husband is here.
Oh, yay. So we're at 15. And I know Shawnee's coming. Shawnee is in another meeting and she's coming late.
Okay, I'll let you know when we need to.
Thank you. Okay, well, that was wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for sharing that. Without Nathan here, I just don't know how much I want to spend on this. Is Shawnee? Yeah, Shawnee is coming. Kids got home. Okay, that's sorry. I'm just catching up here. Oh, and Jesse will be here soon. Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm going back to our. I'm sorry. You can tell that I'm not very like focused. I'm on spring break right now from my older son, so I'm really like not in my usual on top of it mode right now. Okay. So what is your PTA? Why? So Nathan and I have been chatting about this all year, and a goal is to be really purpose driven in our collective PTA planning, decision making, and programming. And so we won't spend too much time on this because I want to do it when Nathan is present. But we're going to visit the Jamboard for a quick second. And this was his framing. He wants us to like notice any wins that are aligned with our stated collective whys and values, and like notice how that could guide us into next year. I also want to reflect back some really important questions I heard. How do we make it clearer to the community as to what we do, right? Because it's a little vague. What does the PTA do? And then also, how do we just get more folks involved? And I always have questions about that. Obviously, I want everyone to come to the meeting. I want at least 16 people here for every meeting for quorum. But I have really been wondering, how do we notice the moments like that there were 18 or 16 chaperones for a field trip, right? Or that we have folks showing up on a weekly basis for lunch volunteering, or that we have like 3-ish adults top or minimum doing safety patrols in the morning, right? So like parents are really, really showing up. They're just not necessarily coming to our meetings. And and that's not to discourage folks to come to the meeting, but I just wonder how we can start describing and showing that that is also part of being the part of the PTA, right? Those things. Okay, so let me open up this PTA Jamboard. We'll spend like only 5-ish minutes on this because I don't want to take too much time. This is what I captured. I saw a lot of what's your why's connection, the kids, partnership, to get more folks involved, to support our teachers, to be in the loop.
Were those field trips PTA funded at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems like a big win to me.
Yes.
Again. Field trips again.
Why don't you all just do exactly what Carly just did? I'm going to stop sharing so we can see each other's faces. And just unmute yourself and shout out a win that feels like it's aligned with the whys that we have shared. So definitely field trips. Go ahead, just unmute yourself. I mean, I'll say my own personal why I joined the PTA in the first place was to see how we could have a PTA that was more representative of the diversity at Mile Inn. And I feel like we still have a ways to go with who's showing up to our meetings, but I feel like it's been a pretty big win. I feel like our meetings have been more diverse in folks who are showing up this year. I feel like our executive board is getting more diverse as as each year goes by, or perhaps returning to being more diverse. I do hear that it was quite diverse for a while and that the pandemic might have like squashed that momentum. So that's a win that I would like to lift. Any other wins?
I feel like some of our core programming that Monica and Maria really champion it's continued and has really made a community for ourselves. So I think those are wins. Thanks, guys. And I know you don't see it as much, but man, Laura Adams does a lot as the treasurer. Indeed. And not to mention Erica. I mean, come on.
I just learned how to use the new DocuSign thingies and submitted some receipts for some diverse books today.
Yay.
Yeah, I would say the DocuSign is a pretty big win. If you're someone who's shy to unmute, you can also throw a win in the chat box.
I wanted to share, sorry.
Go for it. No, go for it.
I just wanted to share that I am grateful for all the affinity coffees. I haven't been able to go to as many as I would like, but I love that we're really identifying how diverse we really are and how to make that, kind of pop as our community is coming together after the pandemic and rediscovering ourselves.
I would also build and say that's actually a neat thing that like was a partnership where it came from something that I think felt really like y'all took the idea and ran with it in a really neat way. And I think it's actually better now that it is a parent, like it's a parent owned space. And I think that feels more opening, inviting to families. So that's a really exciting thing because I really wanted that space to exist and you made it 10 million times better. So it's great.
I'll say that there's a win in both of my kids' classrooms with people who really want to volunteer and who do their best to. I think that there are some barriers around schedule or maybe getting the live scan done, but there's been a lot of chatter about it, and I think there's interest there. It's just like all of us parents having the time to put in to do that.
I think we have 16 if we want to go back to official.
I see that. Welcome, Mary. Welcome, Shawnee. I believe.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. You've helped us hit quorum, and we actually do need quorum tonight. Mary and Shawnee, if you want to unmute yourself and share, and after they do this, we can move on. We opened our meeting talking about what our personal why is for being a part of the PTA, and then we noticed like where we are aligned as a community, and then we're sharing out wins that we've noticed that sort of align with these whys. And just so for some context, it was like a lot of connection, community building, bringing more folks to the table. So that's what folks have been saying. So if you're comfortable and you want to, you can unmute yourself and say what your why is and what is a win that you've noticed around your why. Shawnee said, all that you just said. Go for it, Mary.
I think for me, it's just a way to connect with the school community. And then I think a win, and I'm not sure I'm understanding fully what the win is. So if I'm off, you can forgive me. But I think for me, it's being able to connect with more parents this year. It's definitely feels like there's more connection, which is really nice.
That's a huge win, and it's not off at all. Now, what Nathan, I won't spend too much time because Nathan, as you all know, just has a wonderful way of describing things, and I think he should describe it. But he was talking about how our why helps us build a nest on a tree, on a branch. Like I said, he does a much better job describing this. And he was saying that everybody's different why. And when building a nest, right, you think about birds, they bring their own twigs, their own little bit of mud, their own whatever. And so he was thinking about whys in that way. And I'm going to shout it out since he's not here, but he was saying like Michael Hughes, who's not on this meeting, is a great example of a person who is like consistent, and his why, I can't speak for Michael, but it seems that his why is coffee. And so every affinity coffee, every PTA coffee has coffee because of Michael Hughes. And so I just wanted to lift that up because that's like a beautiful example of a why, a very specific, like this is the thing that I can contribute to this community and I'm gonna do it and make it happen. So I just want to share that. Nathan describes it way better than me. And it's so important, Alex.
I was just going to say such a big help with like helping bring coffee.
It's huge. It seems like a small thing, but it's huge. Okay, we have quorum, so I don't want to lose it. I think there's two things we need to do. We need to do elections and approval of the minutes. Laura, I don't know if we have to do anything financially, but I say we do all of those things right now while we have quorum. So I'm going to pass the mic to Carly.
I guess I should have put the meetings in the chat. The minutes from last meeting in the chat. Let me do that.
While you do that, can I just, while we're talking about people who've really been stepping up also, can we just shout out the traffic safety team who had no idea that they were committing to doing that during the rainiest winter ever? Like they show up every time with their, like, I just, when we think about the twigs in the nest, they're like holding up above the mud in the rain. So I just, yes, they deserve it.
For sure.
Deserve all the appreciation.
Okay, I think the first thing is just to see if anyone has any corrections to the March minutes, which I just put in the chat. And then if there are no corrections, then I will make a motion to approve the March minutes. Does anyone second?
I second to approve the March minutes.
Any discussion? Erica, do you want to call the vote? Just say all of.
All in favor, say yay.
Yay.
Or thumbs up is fine too.
Okay.
Yay. Yay.
Anyone not in favor, say nay. Any, what is it?
Abstentions.
Abstentions? Okay, we did it.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. And then we're going a little bit out of order, but Shawnee, I don't know if you want to like head up the election right now, and or Laura, I don't actually know if we have anything that needs to be moved on finance stuff.
We need to ratify the checks for.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. I need to find the agenda because
I can drop it into it. Well, Shawnee has come on the camera, so why don't we go with elections? This is very exciting. I think I'm looking, I think I see almost all of our incoming board members on the call. I think we're missing one, but that's okay.
Yes, part one of our elections, because I do love committees and we're going to keep going, have been completed. We have found our officers, which is really exciting. And I am just going to pull it up because I've just screeched into my seat here. We have a full slate too. There's not even anybody missing. So I don't know that I really need to read the names off, but I can do. You can do it, Erica, if you want to. But we
I think you should definitely read it off because it's really awesome that everybody has raised their hand. And so we need to give everybody their 15 seconds of fame.
Okay, I'm with you on that. Let me figure out what I did with this document. I'm so sorry. I'm not even close to ready for this, which is so obvious. Let me just find it. Unless you have it, Erica, I'm so sorry. It's been one of those days. I just found a different document that I lost, though, if I can talk about things that are great.
I think I can drop it in the chat. Oh, you found it. Okay.
Thanks, Carly. You can also come back to me if that's easier. This is why. My why. Okay, there we go. There it is. Thank you so much. So what's super exciting is that we have a lot of new people this year as well, of a good crop of returners. And that is always such a great testament to the health of our organization, which makes me so happy. So for president, we are seeing Erica again, and her trusty vice president, Maria, running the place, is coming back. A new secretary will give Carly a giant hug goodbye. Jamie Martinez is going to step up to be our secretary. Our historian is Lana Nguyen now. Big hugs to Faye as she heads out. Our treasurer remains Laura Adams. Man, what a great thing. We're having her back next year. We're all very lucky. With support from Megan Sharon, our financial secretary, and Kelly Jackson again as our auditor. Very good pairs of hands to keep us moving through the next budget. And no way, Laura, you know you're the master. I'm so excited to have you back for the budget. I am stepping out as the parliamentarian because I'm crazy and I gotta go, but I will help with events. And we have Margin. I apologize if I don't mess up your name, your last name that's coming in. And then our own Mr. Nathan is returning for outreach and engagement. And we have a new position with a new person, Susie Lundy being our VP of funding, helping to ensure that the district makes good on its promise to work with us on grants to replace the money they took. Anyway, thank you all very much. If you're still interested in getting involved, that does not stop at officers. All of these officers rely on committees. We definitely need committee support. So we'll be sending that list out as well. Tell anybody who is interested that they're still welcome to join us in all of those opportunities. And I'll be back with the budget later.
Yay. And then don't we have to do some official vote? That I have no idea. I don't know how that works.
This list goes into Carly's minutes as the record of nominations. I think it's got a different name. And it is then put into posterity. So do we actually vote on them? I don't remember. I thought
you have to vote on the slate.
Do we vote on the slate? Okay.
And then the next one
I do think
I'm a really good parliamentarian.
To make them the
Marhane, I hope you're paying attention. This is your job for next year.
Let me pull it together. Yes, indeed. I would like to move to vote, or I would like to move to approve the slate of nominees for 23-24. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And I needed a second. I'll second it too.
Okay.
I can second it. That way it's not one, not two in the same.
Okay.
I can second that.
Thank you.
Of course.
And then do I anything, or I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Congratulations and welcome in, and thank you so much. We need you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I was very sad to hear, I'm very sad to say goodbye to the folks who are leaving the board this year, but boy, did we luck out with the folks who are joining next year. So it's good stuff. Thank you. So thank you, Lana, especially, and Faye. Faye's here. And thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Marhane. Thank you, Susie, who's not here, for coming and joining us next year. And like Shawnee said, there is plenty to do. And there's actually so much to do that the executive board alone can't do it. So if you're somebody who's here and you're like, I want to be involved, but I don't want to be part of the board, there's plenty to do. I'm going to pass the mic to Laura for ratification of, I'm sorry, I'm going out of order in the
This
agenda.
document says elections held at PTA meeting in April.
Yeah.
So was that the right motion to like elect them?
I don't know. I just
Yeah,
know elections
yeah.
happen right now.
We announced in May, or excuse me, we
Okay.
announced in March. We
Okay.
built the slate and then we
Okay.
elect to approve.
So
And
tonight
we're
was
April, right?
motion to elect them.
Yeah,
Okay. I just want
yeah,
to make
that's the exact word. I'm sorry. Thank you. I know that's how it says in the bylaws. You'd think I'd never read
Okay.
them because I'm a mess.
Okay, so this is a motion to elect the 2023 executive board,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And then I'll get you this paper and it becomes the slate of record.
Got it.
Yay. Thank you, Shawnee and Nathan were our nominating committee this year. I'm going to pass it. So I'm sorry I'm going out of order with the agenda. I just got nervous with our lack of quorum. So I'm going to pass it to Laura.
Sure. So oh, could you let me share my screen for just a sec? There we go. Thanks. Okay, so I always just FYI, if you ever want to look at it, I always dump the financial report at the bottom of the agenda. So just a reminder that the financial reports and the budget are fully accessible to the public, and you can link to them here. The current monthly reports are there. I also dropped in a budget to actual as of April 1st, if you want to see where we're at in spending compared to what we budgeted. We started March with a cash balance forward of $118,351.10. We brought in $1,854.23 in revenue and spent $7,631.18. So we are exiting the month with $112,574.15 in the bank. We wrote the following checks during the month of March. You can review them here. So I'd like to make a motion to ratify checks 2866 through 2877. And then can we also in the same motion say to file for audit the reports? Is it all the same? I always forget. Okay, let's just assume we can.
I think that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can do that. Can
Okay,
you see the check numbers again? Sorry, can you see the check numbers again?
2866 through 2877.
2877. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I jumbled that, but the motion is to file for audit the financial report for March 2023 and ratify checks 2866 through 2877. Can anyone second that?
I'll second it.
All right, so we vote. All in favor, say aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and that's it for me.
All right. I'm going to go back to the agenda unless anybody has things that require quorum. And we're actually, we're out of order, but sort of on time. I'm going to go to our updates. So we're going to start with a teacher update, a principal update, an arts funding update, and then any committee updates that are here. And then Carrie and Emily, when you do your updates, if you could let us know how we can support you, that would be awesome. So I pass it to you, Emily.
Okay. Hi. So first, I just had a wondering, Laura, and I know we've emailed some, but just if I can get information. So I know like mystery science and scholastic and all those different, I'm trying to compile a list of those kind of subscriptions that the PTA funds so that I can reach out to teachers and figure out who uses what and make sure that they're things that at least the majority of people still want, and just so we're not continuing on things we don't need, etc.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you think it would be effective to like do a little survey of the teachers in terms of that, but like in terms of other things like like field trip budgets and teacher grant budgets and things like that.
Yeah, if you want to work together to create something, I just don't even really know what the questions are.
Yeah, no, I would make it. So is the only other pending thing. I'm sorry that I haven't responded.
No, you did respond. I mean, mystery science I've been asked about, and then like I think we get Scholastic and Nat Geo.
Nat Geo apparently is no longer available. So
okay, done.
It got replaced by Scholastic. So we just paid that, and that will cover the full next year. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be, rather than me sending out 17 separate emails to ask people, if I can just compile like what the ongoing things are, and we can kind of
I agree. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So we'll follow up. So it has been really nice in the springtime. I feel like people are starting to take field trips, which is really exciting, and it's always appreciated, the monies we have for that. So kindergarten, I know just recently went to Academy of Sciences. They are learning about habitats and the plants and animals that live in them, and the relationship between living and non-living things in a habitat. Building writing skills by sounding things out phonetically. Learning about trees and leaves. In art, they are learning about making landscapes with foreground, midground, and background and horizon lines, and connecting that to their work with habitats. In first grade, we've just all kind of wrapped up exploration of sound and light, and are moving on to plants and their life cycle, parts and functions, what they bring to the world. We've been doing some work around kind of that metaphor of planting a seed. And so talking to the kids about what they want to plant, like what they want to create for the world. And they designed seeds that, give people food if they're hungry, or, make tacos. I don't, there was all sorts of both fanciful and helpful ideas. And we went to the first grade, went to the Bay Area Discovery Museum in Sausalito, which was an amazing field trip. And I'm really working with my kids to try to do some envisioning around ways we can bring pieces of that feel to our own space. And so I've been trying to connect with some of the people who work there, and Erica and garden people and Carrie, and trying to kind of figure out what we can do. So stay tuned. And we went to Crab Cove last week. Second grade is finishing up a unit on different strategies for addition and subtraction, and moving towards money, data, and measurement. They're working on poetry in April and opinion writing. They're making animal habitats and maps. They have made some gorgeous maps in Art with Miss Moore that connects with their animal studies they're doing. Third grade is just wrapping up some work with Kids for the Bay, and looking at watershed and those systems, which is fabulous. Fourth grade is doing some California Native American Indigenous people research projects, and working on a Bryant Terry inspired class cookbook, and working on fractions. One of the fifth grade classes is working on public speaking through soapbox speeches about issues they feel like they feel passionate about. Fifth grade is working on area and volume, nonfiction state reports, and reading Watson's Go to Birmingham, 1963. And then Miss Moore also gave an update. Kindergarten and one of the fifth grades are learning about perspective and creating depth in their work, and connecting that to their other studies they're doing in class. Ayanna Beck's K3 class is doing cycles and weaving. First grade and some of the fifth graders, it's a little confusing, are working on sound suits. So wearable sculptures, thinking about textures, pattern, and sound. And we will have a parade in May around the school. We did this a few years ago, and it's very fun. Second grade invented creatures and invented maps and stories about their creatures. Third grade is weaving paper and now yarn. And fourth grade is sewing scenes with created creatures and horizon lines. Miss Bell's class is learning all about wolves through drawing, painting, and printmaking. In PE, they are working on volleyball skills, and they're going to move towards a modified volleyball play. Actually playing volleyball. So then in the anything you need or want from the PTA, always on their lunch supervisors and garden docents, we're kind of working to try and get people in the garden more. Right now on Tuesdays and Thursdays, there's opportunities to come in and kind of hold it open for the kids very informally. And one of the teachers said they're just looking for encouragement. Like, okay. And Miss Mills says, thank you so much for funding the little cleanup kit. The teachers are really excited about it. It's a bunch of tongs in a box, and you would think we won the lottery. The third grade's excited because they've been working with Kids for the Bay, so they want to go out and like start collecting trash. And I love how thoughtful Miss Mills was about it, with the idea of using tongs, so you're not having to put on disposable gloves, therefore creating more trash in the process of picking up trash. So the idea is they aren't gloved, but they're using tongs so that it's more sustainable. And then my own plug, the Science, Art, and Maker Fair is coming up on the 27th. And so we'll be looking for a couple volunteers the morning of the 27th, and then just to help collect all the projects that come in, and then maybe a few volunteers for the actual event in the evening, and then a few volunteers on Friday, the 28th, to help take it all down. So I will connect with Erica about how to get those in a form you can sign up for. I think that is all for now.
Well, that's a tough act to follow, I will say. Miss Roberts shared all these wonderful things, and I got to be in with one of the classes when they were making the sound suits, and it was just amazing. It was this group of fifth graders, and they were all like shrieking with excitement, trying all these different things on, working really hard, shrieking in a good way. Like Ms. Moore had to keep asking them to be quiet, but it was because they were like just so excited talking to each other. So the parade will be fun, and we'll have to send some pictures out to the community. I would yes and everything that is happening with Ms. Roberts. Some on the principal level, I think that they are hoping to identify somebody soon for the transition. So part of my work for the next couple months will be really helping to set somebody up in a really strong way with our wonderful team. And so I will probably be reaching out to the PTA to think about how to make that feel smooth. I just sent out in the Myelin News that we had our Black Excellence exhibition, and I think I'm going to talk about this at the PTA exec board, but it was a really neat, it was organized by teachers, and then each classroom was learning about a particular Black artist and doing something that was inspired by it and putting it on their walls, but it looked a lot of different ways, and the classes had different times where they would go around and like look at our exhibits. So that was just a neat celebration. Again, like lots of field trips. We have been doing, some of you may have heard about the Golden Wolf Tag, which is a fun idea that our PBIS team came up with. As we have our regular class wolf tag, but and Shadow and Wonder are still making the rounds, and it's great, but we felt like March can be kind of a dip sometimes in feeling and energy, and also sometimes behaviors can come up. And so this was a way, the winning class gets to silly string me. So I'm gonna, I've been giving extra Golden Wolf tags in here. They have stars on them, that's how you know, and we'll choose one out of there. So some of the classes, a lot of the classes have actually been really excited about it. And yeah, I think a big thing is just helping get the word about all the different events that we have coming up. So we have Open Studios on the 19th, which is the Wednesday we come back. So we'll send out some extra reminders, but people might not realize like that's our open house, and our big thing is process over product. So we're actually going to have parents coming in and often like doing things alongside their kids and learning about their process. And there will be, I know that there's been some communication up from the PTA about there will be fingerprinting there, which is great. And then, you know, all the other wonderful events that are happening, the Makers Fair, which really kudos to Miss Roberts and Miss Countryman for resurrecting it. And I think kids are really excited. One kid ran it up to me right as I started morning opening today to make sure I had his form. And then obviously like Art Fest, there's a lot of cool things that are coming up soon. So I think just like hyping it to our community and get people to show up wherever they can was how we could get some help.
Can I share out that my child got a pup tag, and that was the coolest thing that I have seen in my tenure at Myelin. I was like, what? You got a pup tag for helping another kid? A kid in school gave you a pup tag because they thought you were cool. I was like, that's really a cool way of continuing to like drive this community. I just loved it. It just didn't even occur to me. Like, of course, that makes perfect sense.
So just the 3rd through 5th graders, I think, take turns being toolbox ambassadors at the littler kid at the K2 recess. And so they come and set up games or do bubbles and monitor like the calm zone and help out in all sorts of ways. And they have special vests and gear, and they get to give out pup tags as the kid given version of wolf tags. And it is very sweet.
I love all of that. I want a pup tag. Carrie, I don't know. I feel like you're better at doing the arts funding update. Mostly just like what not Principal Scuderi, Superintendent Scuderi. So sorry, context. Emily Roberts, Carrie, and I met with Superintendent Scuderi on Tuesday to get kind of an update on where our arts funding is looking like it might be coming from. For those of you who haven't like been following all the little, you know, ins and outs of it, Constance's role is completely whole for next year. It's when they start doing their, you know, the part that's confusing is they're not trying to defund her position. They're taking it out of the general fund. The part that's a little bit like, is they haven't fully determined what that means. So as it comes out of the general fund, is this quote unquote alternative funding to keep her position whole coming from? So that's what Emily and Carrie and I have been meeting with Superintendent Scuderi to just honestly get updates. So I'm not, Carrie, if you don't mind giving that update, I just think
No, it's fine. So yeah, they are committed to helping us find funding sources. And I will say in this meeting that we just had, like, there's no conversation about the PTA covering the cost at this point. So I feel like that is a good place to be in. And what they are most interested in doing, and he said that we can share, is putting it in, putting in language around the parcel tax that will be going before voters next spring. And so they're looking at exactly what that will be, if it's going to be something to offer some additional funds for specific types of programs at different school sites, if it's going to be about an arts pathway that goes through Myelin to Wood and maybe to Junior Jets. So I think some of the specifics are being ironed out, but the idea is to actually have that in the parcel tax, which would then sustain funding for, I mean, that's a 7-year parcel tax that they're putting forward, I believe is what they're going for. And since that would happen in the spring, we would know pretty quickly by the next year when there would be a reduction in funding coming from the district. So that is one of the options. There's also, and now I'm realizing I'm going to get I can't remember, I think it's 3 million that is sitting in a discretionary fund that is currently being held. It's because they have to see what happens with the lawsuit that's been happening around the recent tax. So that is funding teacher salaries, because if they lose the court case, the district does, then obviously it's going to have to go for compensating for the increased teacher salaries, staff salaries. But if they do not lose that, then that is discretionary funds that could also be used to be allocated towards things like Constance's salary for short term. So I think they're trying to weigh different short to slightly longer term options. And so there's some pending information that will be coming from that. I've also shared some demographic information because there are some separate funding sources that can go to what we call unduplicated students. So students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, English learners, and or foster care youth. And so we do have students who come from those different groups. And so if we need to also find some bridge money in that way as well. Because some of these are unknowns, we talked about how just like information helps people feel like that it's being attended to, right? Like I think he's been doing work behind the scenes, and yet if we don't know as a community, it's hard to feel secure in what that looks like. So he is interested in actually meeting with having a meeting that's open to anyone in the Maya-Lin community in May to just give an update and talk in more detail about what that looks like from a funding perspective. I mean, truly, if they can get it in the parcel tax, that's great for everybody actually, because the district needs that to fund programs, but also and to fund staff, but also families, I think, will feel invested in ensuring that gets passed because it has something that's at stake for their school. So he wants to meet in May. He's going to see if he can give us, quick updates in June if anything comes up, and then planning in October, because around October they'll have a better sense of when they're going to be going to court with the lawsuit. That's part of the issue, is that just the courts are backed up, and so maybe they'll be lucky and they'll be going in November, or maybe it'll be in February next year, but at least they'll have more information for us about what are the next steps. So that is where we're at right now. And I think he's really wanting to make sure that there's like a communication plan so people know what is happening. I can't believe my radio is going off right now.
It also seemed like, if I recall, like in September, October, there might be potential if someone is interested and available to help with some of the language around what, like after they have more information, but some of the language around what the bond measure proposition, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That won't be
parcel tax measure. Yeah.
like whatever it's called.
Those things. Yeah.
And for anybody who's like, oh my God, why do we have to knock door to door for another parcel tax? Sadly, this is how schools get funded. And it's probably a bigger conversation around what happens at the state level, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my one soapbox I always get on is like, learn more about Proposition 13 and how it's repealed dramatically, sent California education from being one of the top funded in the country to we really are in the bottom 5 per pupil funding. And so that is why these things happen.
That part. Before we move on, thank you, Casey. Carrie gave that update way better than I would have. And thank you, Emily, for filling in as well. Does anyone have any questions on that before we move on? It's obviously an ongoing conversation. And I think what we were able to really drive home with Scuderi is that we need consistent updates because it's very nerve-wracking as a community, right? So I feel like he heard that. Lana, I saw your hand go up.
Well, I was just going to type it too. I was just going to ask about the meeting in May. How are parents or community members able to know about when that date is or how to participate?
We have to actually set that up with him. So it can be it could be part of a PTA meeting. It could be if there's a or we can just but I think the ball's in our court to work with him in a time that fits in his schedule. And Thursdays are the better day, actually, just in terms of when other things are happening across the district. And he's happy to set aside like a whole hour to give an overview and answer questions. So yes, you just asked the right question about what's the next step. The next step is I need to work with him to find a date and then we can communicate it out to our community. We just met with him this week, so that still needs to happen.
Yeah, and we'll blast it big time. Yeah. Any other questions before we move on? We had such like a wonderful conversation around the why. I do see Nathan has joined us. Nathan, we did do a little why conversation. I didn't dare to like share your wonderful analogy about the tree and the branches and the nest. But if that's something you want to share, feel free to. Oh, good, he's coming. I think he's a black box right now. Nathan, no pressure. If it's something you feel like you would like to share, we can make the time and space. You are just a dark, quiet black box right now. Okay, I'm gonna move on and hopefully Nathan will materialize. So nuts and bolts, we did our elections, yay! And I think we did our financial report, yay! And so I'm gonna pass the mic to Shawnee. So Shawnee, Megan, and Laura are our budget committee this year. And Shawnee's gonna just give us a very brief overview of the budget process and then talk to us about our survey. So Shawnee.
I'm in way better control of myself now. I'm going to drop the slides for the budget into the chat. Hopefully it'll go quick. We are, yeah, please go in. We are at a process, we've developed a process this year that is in speaking of inclusion, where we are actually asking all of our PTA members and all of our families what is important to them, what their priorities are, because our budget ought to reflect that. And we haven't done this in the history of the school, so I'm super excited, and I hope everybody tells their friends. If you want to just have a quick flip through what we've got here that I did not post on Facebook, but Erica has continued to post through the dispatch, so hopefully everybody has seen it. Is the expenditure breakdown of 2022 and 2023 to inform your choices. This is not set in stone. It's supposed to roll over and start new every year with the new board. It's new responsibilities and priorities. And so I am really excited. My why is democracy and inclusion. So this is definitely a way to get our families involved in how the school gets supported by the PTA. So we've broken the budget down. Normally we see the budget kind of go through in the form of checks. And I've had some really great questions come in. You know, what is our total budget? What should it be? How do we decide which categories are in there? Laura is responsible for most of that. What I've been trying to do is be exactly this, an ambassador that says, here's what we spend on every year. You can see all the activities that we do. If we are not asking if you like events, we're asking if you want to, or particular events, we're asking if you want to spend more on events or less on events, more on the garden committee, less on the garden committee. That also includes the blacktop redo. So all of that information is actually in these slides, and you can have a look and stroll through and make your decisions. If you start with the survey, this was a decision I made, and next year we'll fix it. You start with the survey and you don't get to see the slides till later, or the breakdown until later. So my husband was just cussing me out on accessibility. And we next year we'll make sure that link is a little bit more obvious. But anyway, the chance to come in and say, I like this budget, I want more or less. Well, I'll let the garden committee speak to specific expenses. But the theme is of my little pitch here is tell your friends to fill out the budget survey and tell us what is important to you, because we've never asked before. And I think this data is going to be super interesting. And even if we only get 50 people, it's more than we ever had. So if you love gardens, if you love events, if you love curriculum assistance, come on in and tell us all about it, and tell us where to spend the money that you raised. That's the important piece, is this money doesn't materialize out of nowhere. It comes directly from the blood, sweat, and tears of our parents. And so our families need to be able to be in control of where it goes. And that's my big pitch for local democracy. Any questions?
You mentioned something about, who was that?
Sorry, Monica. You go.
You go.
Do you have numbers of how many people have filled out the survey so far?
I don't. I wondered if Erica might.
Last I checked, we've got 45.
Hey, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I went through the survey and it's a really well designed survey. So good job, you guys.
And Megan gets all the credit for the slides.
Yeah, the slide is really informational. I was also, when I was going through, I was wondering, okay, what is classified as, what expense, and the slides, especially with the detail breakdown, really helps to explain. So
Any suggestions that anybody has on doing this better, differently, improved next year will be completely appreciated. Because like I say, this is our first round. So we really just kind of did what I kind of wanted, which was just roll it out and ask them. That's all I want to see is what everybody says. But the organization of the information is really important because then you've got the information that you need to be able to answer the questions. So if there's anything you want to change up in there, definitely let us know.
yeah, as you mentioned, I wonder whether there's an easy way to link, the different categories with explanation, right? Not everyone will actually go to the slides and then do this corresponding, match of the categories. So I don't know if there's any easy way to do that.
Yes, that is my goal, is to see if we can see a different tool next year. Because I know I made the mistake of putting AMP in the survey rather than Alameda Music Project. So it's not as obvious. So we'll learn as we go. But 54, is that what you said? 45? That's way better than I thought. That's fantastic.
Megan, did you have a question?
That was my question, but I think it was
right.
Monica.
Sorry, Monica. Did you have a question? I forgot who it was. Sorry.
I was just very intrigued by the blacktop redo. I don't know if that's something that's in the works or just a hopeful thing that you're putting out into the universe and hoping that happens. Maybe someday we'll get some grass.
Yes, to all of that. I will defer to committee reports on that. So much as to say, if you love the garden, vote for it. So that's my rule in this meeting.
Can we vote for more green?
Yeah, there's even a blank space that says, tell us if it's not in here. Tell us what you want.
I might interject myself just to because Emily and I have been talking about this a lot and doing some fact finding, and I will say the likelihood of them like tearing out all the blacktop. I mean, it costs $1 million. I had them price that out last year. So it's very expensive. And then even blacktop paint is also quite expensive because you have to have a resurfacing. It's apparently much more sensitive than other blacktop because it was on the slate for wood for their modernization, and it was going to be $1 million to get their blacktop paint too. So a lot of things cost $1 million. But Ms. Roberts and I have been doing some exploration about other ways we can think about and we got permission around some other ways of taking over blacktop space and maybe putting things on top of the blacktop. So we're exploring it. We're having a future parent and current future Maryland parent and current employee at the Bay Area Discovery Museum come and walk around the yard with us and think about some ideas for how to do it. So I only say this, that I'm not sure how it's all going to play out, but I don't want to get our hopes up too high, but we are trying to come up with some creative solutions. And I'm really kudos to Ms. Roberts for being the engine.
I'm yeah, it's a tough system to work within, as I'm sure you all know sometimes. But I'm really trying to figure out how, and what I was telling Carrie is that I don't know if any of you have been to the farm that's on Alameda Point, where the farm to whatever, that's all built on top of basketball courts. And so to me, if they won't let us tear it down, let's build it up, and figure out how you create layers on top of blacktop, whether it's starting with just wood chips, just to break it up a bit, break up the monotony of the heat and then go from there. But I'm not an expert at these things, but I know there are ways to garden on top of like it's not ideal in many ways, but I'm trying to figure out how to work with what we have. And so I have lots of my husband's actually going to help me do a little project planning around it because I'm more of an ideas person than an implementation person. And so just kind of he's going to help me kind of work on at least what I'm envisioning, get it down so that then I can and now I've got Constance more on board. I've given us a new title, co-conspirators in creativity and play. So hopefully we can get some other people on board and figure out how we can make some change.
So does that make you CCAPs?
Well,
sorry.
Oh no, go.
No, go ahead. I'm just being a time watcher. It's 7:50 and I don't want us to be on till 10 p.m. And I know that the blacktop is a never-ending conversation. I do want to like shout out there that doing anything that requires a change to district property is much easier said than done. And if any of you have been following our garden stuff in just the last 5 to 10 years, it's just not as easy as throwing money at it. So I think Emily Roberts with Carrie and then also with the support of the garden committee are coming up with some very doable ideas that will green the blacktop, but perhaps not in the like luscious foresty lawn grassy knolls way that we imagine. I am going to push us forward unless we have anything we want to add quickly to all of this. And Nathan's face is here. I think Nathan has sound again. Nathan, you've got 1 minute to describe to everyone the beautiful tree analogy with the nest, because I totally messed it up, and how it like ties to our why.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being patient with me. I was having technical difficulties. But yeah, Erica and I have been meeting, and I'm very passionate about getting to the why, personally and for organizations, because when you know your why, you're able to make decisions more effectively that, have greater impact. And so we've been looking at the national PTA, the PTA that's in California, and then the PTA that's in Myelin. And the analogy that came to me is like the tree. The national PTA that includes all PTAs in our country is a tree. Then you have, your local PTAs in California, for example. Those are the branches that are on this tree, but on each branch, you'll have a little nest. In our PTA, Myelin, we are a nest on one of those branches. And the biggest thing that I am driving at is to celebrate those wins, to celebrate the why of who we are and what we are. And everything matters. Every single little thing is important, because somebody might one day say, all I have is a twig to offer. And guess what? That twig is exactly what we needed to reinforce our nest. Somebody may come up and say, I can only offer a feather. We'll take your feather, because that's exactly the feather we needed to reinforce our nest. We've been through a pandemic, and guess what, guys? Our nest is still there. We've seen a lot of ups and downs. We've seen programs come under chopping blocks, and our Myelin PTA has been there, because that nest has been fortified and strengthened through every season, every storm. But when we have our why, we take ownership of that area of the branch. That's our nesting area. And I know we gave shout outs earlier, but one of the guys that I wanted to use as an example is Mike, who brings coffee. If anyone has enjoyed coffee at a principal's coffee or at a PTA coffee, this guy, I've seen him. We're out there early in the morning as a safety team. He has a smile on his face, and he has walked through storms, through rain, through hail, through wind, and he just has a permanent smile. And if you've enjoyed a cup of coffee, it's because of him. And many people may look at that and go, okay, that's a little twig. But you know what? That twig has fortified our nest. And because of him, the impact has gone out. I want to highlight Jesse Martinez. Today, our family we got in a personal world when Gina and I couldn't be there. We called Jesse. He's come so many times out when we need him on the safety team. And he's like, you got me, you got me, you got me. Jesse's bringing twigs, branches, feathers, whatever he's got, and he's fortifying our nest. And that's just my passion is if we know our nest and we know why we're on that branch, that we are nurturing, encouraging, and helping the little ones that are in that nest grow, everybody will say, hey, whatever twig I can give, whatever feather I can give, whatever, blade of grass, leaf, I'll give it. And that's my pitch. Hopefully that was in a minute and I didn't take too long.
It was such a good minute elevator pitch. Maria's crying. Maria never cries. Yes, see, I told you all. Nathan says it way better. And this is why I think Nathan is such an incredible VP of engagement and outreach. I think a lot of times we think about that in numbers, like how many people did we engage? How many people came to the meeting? How many people have we reached out to? But you're so good, Nathan, at being like, what is your why? Well, how are you engaged? What brings you to the table? We have space for you. And I love it, Nathan. So thank you so much for bringing that to our PTA this year. Okay, I'm going to go back because I'm going to wrap us up in 6 minutes. I hate rushing, but I also think bedtime's important. I'm also on solo mom duty tonight. So I'm like, I've got children who are spiraling out of control in the other room. Okay, very quickly, I'm just going to go through this really quickly. Please unmute yourself if you want to shout out any of these upcoming events. We have an affinity coffee tomorrow for our LGBTQIA caregivers. Alex Bear will be hosting that, and Lauren Davis and Kate Schatz, who are the coordinators for that group, will also be there. There'll be coffee. I'm going to bring donuts, and those folks will hold the space. There's an open studios on April 19th. That's the Wednesday when we come back from break. And like Carrie already said in this meeting, that is our open house at Maya Lin. It is a site-led event, but we all need to show up, support our kiddos, support the teachers. And at that event, there's going to be a food sale for the science camp kids for next year. So come hungry and buy some pizza. The following week on Thursday, there's a Science, Art, and Maker Fair, which is also site-led by our wonderful Miss Countryman and Miss Roberts. It's a science fair essentially, but if you've read their handout, there's space to show your art and show your things you make. We have a Myelin Arts Fest on April 30th, which will be an afternoon of music and art making at the Healing Garden, which is right next to the Fireside and Calafia. The Fireside and Calafia will be there serving or selling food and drinks. And then Faye, Maria, and Monica are heading up all the art making. There'll be art making booths. And then we have 3 music acts coming. We've got our AMP kids coming. We have their choir and their string ensemble, and then we've got 3 o'clock rock coming. That's usually it's teen bands, but it's student bands. Usually they do rock, but they do many different things. And then we'll be closing the night with they're called the Funk Revival Orchestra, which features our very own Myelin dad Nicholas Lee on the horns. So that will be really, really fun. That is our spring fundraiser. The good news is we've hit our fundraising goal for this year. So anything made at this event is gravy, which, there's never enough money. So, come be generous. And then the Wolfpack Culture Fest is on May 20th. Nathan is heading that up. And if you want to share cultural food, art, music, song, stories, in all of these links on the agenda, you can click and sign up. That was my lightning speed. Nathan, Emily, Monica, Carrie, if you want to speak to any of the events I just shouted out, please just unmute yourself.
I can't wait until the Culture Fest. I am super, 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 super excited. I want to taste, I want to see, I want to learn, I want to engage. I want to say Faye was a huge inspiration for me, which, by the way, her new nickname for me is Gangsta Faye. And there's a reason for that, because she is gangsta and you want her on your team. But she kind of helped inspire this because during the Affinity Coffee she held, food and sharing culture was a big part of that. And she's led me and Gina on a food tour. We got to eat at an amazing, authentic Chinese restaurant, which has the best freaking Chinese food I have ever had. Now I'm addicted. So thank you, Faye. But I'm looking forward to seeing who is going to be volunteering and being a part of this culture fair. I absolutely am excited. We got the flyers made up. They're going to be in teachers' boxes. So I can't wait to start getting up the signups and getting groups together and seeing what we could do to celebrate our awesome little nest that has feathers from all over the world.
Oh my God, you just made the nest that I had in my mind get like super colorful. It was just like a little beautiful brown nest and then it went poof. Carrie, do you want to speak to Open Studios at all? I know you sort of spoke to it already.
Yeah, it's we're gonna start on the blacktop and then the not painted yet blacktop, and then it's going to be a chance for families to go in with their kids to the classroom. And there's actually, it's going to look a little different in every classroom, but the teacher's been working really hard to think about how do you want to capture the process part of that work. So it might be that you're actually like doing the math problems with the kid to see how they do it. It might be that they're actually like, Ms. Roberts, you might have some idea. There was a whole range of ideas, and that's the only one that came to my mind, which is probably like the smallest and least representative of what they're doing, but it's going to be a lot of like doing together and giving the chance for the kid to actually show what they're doing. So you might see some final products, but it's really more, but we did it earlier in the year than other open houses because we want to celebrate what it means to actually do the process and not just about focusing on the end. And there'll be like a 30-minute chunk for one, and then a little bit of time in between. And then if you have another child, you could go to that child's class. We're doing them at set times because some of them are a little more interactive with the class, but then there's going to be stuff up in the hallways for parents. If you want to learn what's happening in another grade level, you can kind of interact with some of the stuff on the wall. So that's a way to give parents a chance to see what's happening around the school, but also create some carved out space for the kids in that classroom. And yes, it has been a long time since we've done this, so it's very exciting.
Super exciting. And Maria has set up live scan, so please get the word out. We need more volunteers. The PTA is able to reimburse $50 a live scan to anybody who needs it. No questions asked, just let us know. And I'm going to pass the mic to either Maria or Monica if you want to just shout out a little bit more about Arts Fest.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, Arts Fest is going to be a blast. We're going to have musical performances. We're going to have lots of art to partake in. We're going to have a installation piece done by Miss Y. Lots of ways to contribute and to experiment and make things yourself and for your kids to make things. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to have really awesome MCs, the MC Batre Montoya crew, and Miss Rosie is going to bring some spice and some sass to the dance floor. There's going to be Calafia next door if you like, if you want some Mexican food. There's going to be food at Fireside if you like some flatbread. We have definitely delicious drinkies. It's going to be a really wonderful Sunday afternoon. Not too late. Ends at 7. So and it's open to the community, so bring your friends. Donations at the door. If you can't afford to pay anything, it doesn't matter. Come have fun. So that's it.
Megan has a question.
Monica, did I see that there may or may not be a gallery?
Yeah, so we sort of put it out there. We were thinking of having a gallery where both kids and adults could have art displayed and possibly, for sale. And we didn't really get much of a response from anyone. I did have a mom come to me yesterday saying her kid wanted to put a piece of art in the gallery. But I think that's the only response we've gotten so far. So
how have you solicited responses?
It's been shared via the newsletter and we're just not getting, so I think for this time being, we're just gonna pass and hope that as we continue in the years, we get more input from the community.
And we're definitely getting responses. So it's not that no one, it's just, there is one person, but what that person wants to contribute isn't even necessarily art. So, I mean, it is art, but it's not a gallery art thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it started out as an art sale, but then we thought, you know, what if nobody bought the art? We'd have a bunch of really sad kids. And so not this year, maybe next time though, we can plan it better. But there will be lots of fun things to make. We're gonna have a big art salad bar table. And I believe lots of other ways, lots of community projects around the space that we can all work on.
Yeah, lots of art making. Any other questions about those events that I shouted out? I don't think we have Emily here anymore. Click on that link. Emily, Miss Countryman and Miss Roberts have done an excellent job describing what the arts, science, and maker fair is. So I would just suggest checking that out. Nathan.
This is a total shameless plug-in, but I got no shame. But I just want to say, since we kind of mentioned Affinity Coffees, in May, I'm hosting the Affinity Coffee for Cinco de Mayo. And
I noticed it was Cinco de Mayo. I thought that was deliberate.
And we are about to have a piñata for the adults. Heck yes. We about to have it, and we're also busting out non-alcoholic margaritas. Ooh, ooh. We gonna celebrate.
I love how the Latinos always have to show everyone up.
What about alcoholic margaritas?
I will personally, you know what? You sign up, I will personally deliver you one. I have no shame.
Yeah,
I will.
That's right.
On the sidewalk, right? On the sidewalk.
On the sidewalk.
Oh, at your home. Yeah, at your home. I will drive by. I'll have Wolfie deliver your margarita where you are. Don't even play. Go big or go home.
All right, I'm gonna wrap this up really quickly. I feel like you've all heard, and hopefully hundreds of people are gonna watch this recording and they're gonna get so excited. But I just wanna say there's lots of ways to get involved this spring. There's volunteering in the garden, so you can sign up for a training that's happening on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This is a great way to get the garden used again, and it's also a great way to get more supervision out on the yard. All of this is linked in the agenda. There's live scan appointments on April 19th. So if you're somebody who hasn't been able to volunteer on campus because you're not live scanned, that's a great opportunity to do that. The Science Art Maker Fair, as Ms. Roberts already said, they will need a handful of volunteers to help set it up. There's also going to be a science camp food sale that night. So especially fourth grade families, keep an eye out for that, but everyone's always welcome to help with those. Arts Fest, we do need volunteers to meet and greet at the door, clean up, set up. Those are really the main things. We didn't solicit them. We've got a bunch of middle schoolers who want to help. So they're going to come help set up. They're going to help Monica and Faye and Maria at the art tables. Staff Appreciation Week, it is starting to shape up, but if that is something you're really excited about, please reach out to the myelinpta@gmail.com. Let me know how you want to be involved. It will likely mostly be signups, like who wants to bring coffee, who wants to bring sandwiches, that kind of stuff. And then the Wolfpack Culture Fest, I couldn't shout it out better than Nathan did, but in that is a link to sign up. So if you want to share something at that. It is 8:07. I feel like all other business and questions and comments have sort of been sprinkled throughout the meeting, but I am happy to hang out just a little longer. Thank you all so much. I found this meeting very invigorating. I loved hearing all of your whys. I love hearing how we are all aligned. I feel like we hit, I don't want to say it was a rough patch, but an uncertain patch in January and February. And I feel like, as Nathan said, our nest is fully intact. We have come together, we're holding each other, we're finding a way forward. Carrie, you've been such a great leader to us. I'm not going to talk about it because I'm not acknowledging it. but we are going to miss you sorely next year. You have just been such an incredible leader to us as we return to campus. I'm going to hang out for a little bit longer if anyone wants to shout out gratitudes, appreciations, or just have all other business questions. Alex is crying. I'm going to mute myself. But yeah, if anyone wants to shout anything out.
I just want to say thank you to all the new board members stepping up. You're amazing. This is not an easy job, but it's really fun and it's rewarding and it's really important. So thank you.
Nathan, because you're on here and you missed earlier when I was shouting out the traffic safety team who had no idea that they were signing up for a lot of rain this winter and could still show up and keep kids and families safe. So it's incredibly important. And I just reshared your video from the beginning of the year.
Woohoo! It's an honor. It's an honor to get to serve.
I haven't been to one of these in so long, I don't want to go. So you guys are going to have to kick me out.
Well, that's the lovely thing about Zoom. I just end the meeting.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Oh, and I did want to say, yeah, go ahead, wave. Don't feel like you have to stay. Wave and say goodbye. I did want to say, acknowledge Taryn's point. I think next year we're going to try to see how we can weave more in-person gatherings. It's tricky because that was the one meeting we had in person was the only meeting I got feedback on, like, why isn't there a hybrid option for this? And I don't ever get feedback from anyone saying, why isn't this in person? So there's that. But I am trying to think about how we can get to be together in person more next year, because I think it's important. Yeah. You guys, are you just not? Yes,
do we
Alex.
know when the AUSD is going to make a decision about Carrie's replacement? I mean, I know that's
I'm gonna
that's happening.
Before I
but-
answer that, I'm just gonna stop the recording.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can answer it, but I just.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Oh, maybe I stopped it already.
Maybe it only lets you do an hour of recording.
No, weird. I hope
Maybe you stopped
very-
it when we started talking about margaritas.
It says
Oh no,
It's
here it is.
showing
It's
it's
not
still
recording.
recording.
Okay.